So at this time, I'm going to hand it over to Jim Manny to walk us through the agenda.
Thank you, Council President. I'll go through the agenda. I'll jump right to 3, which is going to be the introduction of the new South Kingston Police Compassion Dog Leo, which we have hidden in a room back there so we can show everyone at once when everyone tunes in. The breeders who were supposed to be here tonight, and I'll go over their relationship with the town, but they're from out of state and they could not come because they're having another litter of puppies like that. So they're there right now delivering those. But really, there's three entities we'll be thanking them. The Rumford Pet Center here in town and AT&T for all the resources they brought to make this happen. Let's go to licenses next, 6A. There's a mass gathering permit for the Wakefield Oktoberfest on Saturday, October 1st. We're expecting the total amount of people that could be expected there are 3,000 people and 1,000 automobiles, which is the same number that in years past. Chief Moynihan has been working on a security plan, and I'm confident that should be same type of deal as in the years past. It will be a good event with minimal disruption to the town. Be a public hearing regarding cannabis, and well, it's a proposed amendment to the town code that would add cannabis as in how it's defined and where it would be restricted. So I'll let Mike, our solicitor, or so talk about that when the meeting comes up. But basically what it is there's a state law that prohibits certain things in certain areas, smoking and vaping. And this just adds the definition of cannabis and what it is and what it would be prohibited in the same places by state law. But there's also a town prohibition that we could add as well in ordinance. So I'll let the solicitor get into that at the appropriate time. On the communications, there's under 8A, Miss Valerie Spirelli-Delazzi requested a letter of support about a new Spanish language immersion charter school on South Road. This came up in a previous meeting in front of this town council, and the request was for Ms. Spirelli-Delazzi to bring in some supporting documentation on how this could work and a plan. So that's, I have not have been in touch with her. I do not know if she's showing up tonight. I don't know if she's here yet. I guess she is. 8B, Mr. Russell Brown, or Bo Brown as we call him, is tendering his resignation from the zoning board due to some health issues. C, the Exeter Town Council has requested support from the Rhode Island League of Cities and Towns for legislation that was mitigating the negative effects of House Bill 8220 sub A related to taxation. I spoke to the tax assessor about this. So this would not affect this House bill, and the effects of it would not affect this town because we tax the tangibles, not the real estate, the properties. So the building inspector, the tax assessor is here, and I'm sure our solicitor could answer any other more questions if you have any you'd like to ask.
Is the legislative session still going? Is this actively under consideration?
We're looking now to see if it was adopted. We think it was. It was passed in July, I was told by the tax assessor.
Okay, so.
So because this bill has passed, it's moot at this point? They're asking for support of a bill that's already in effect? Is that what we're discussing here?
I think what's happening is since the bill passed, Exeter is looking to introduce a new bill going forward in the new session to mitigate or undo that bill. That's what's going on.
Understood.
Just, Jim, did you say how we are different from Exeter? I was calling up the email from the,
Yes, the tax assessor is here to answer a specific question, but the way he explained it to me is this would not affect us even because it was passed, because the town of South Kingston taxes the tangible property, not the real estate that it's on.
This is the solar arrays? Yeah.
solar?
Thank you. So Exeter had reassessed land when it switched from its current state to solar. And what that did was, for example, say that it was a $5,000 per acre in value. When it switched to solar, it was reassessed or revaluated, and that could have went to, say, $40,000 per acre. But since this legislation has passed, it's saying that you can't reassess real estate any longer. So as of 12/31/22, a community like Exeter and other communities aren't going to be able to, they're going to have to reduce the assessed value for those solar projects back to what it was before it became solar. So in essence, they're going to lose revenue because of that. In the town of South Kingstown, I came from Cranston. We had $5 a kilowatt for tangible and $2 a kilowatt for real estate. In South Kingstown, it was decided to only tax the tangible, which is at $5 per kilowatt. So this, in essence, what Exeter has reached out to the town council about does not affect, it's revenue neutral for the town of South Kingstown. They're just seeing a loss because they have to revert back to what the land was valued at prior to it becoming solar. So,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
There's no other questions on that item. I'll go to 8D. That is a letter from the chair of the South Kingston 300th Anniversary Steering Committee, Ms. Joanna Esposito. In her correspondence to the council, she's advising and requests approval for a town hall lighting ceremony on Saturday, December 17th, 5 to 6 at Town Hall, which will kick off the 300th anniversary. She's invited the council members and members of the public. These lights are separate from the Christmas tree decorations that we will have at Town Hall. This is a separate lighting that will take place and stay on throughout the holidays, on top of the Christmas decorations we have. The Wakefield Village Association is sponsoring it. Seascape is giving a greatly discounted quote to install the lights. They will stay on from December of 2022 to mid-March of 2023. And also in Ms. Esposito's correspondence, she wanted to advise that the 300th Committee is very happy to report that they received a $150,000 grant from the Rhode Island Commerce application for public art installation, and they're putting an RFQ out. They put it out in August and have the unveiling in the fall of 2023.
Has a location been discussed for the art installation? And who, if not, who would decide where that would go?
It's my understanding the 300th Anniversary Committee will decide where it will go, and there has been some discussion, and there's been some locations that they've noted on Main Street, but I'll let them reveal where ultimately they will put it. But there's been some very preliminary discussions on it, yes.
And the lighting from Seascape, they're providing the lighting on Main Street, or did you say around Town Hall?
It's at Town Hall.
Okay.
Come
Come on up, Terry.
Oh, go ahead, Terry.
Good evening. Yes, regarding the lighting, it's for Town Hall, in front of Town Hall. The high school will be doing the wood shop will be doing a 300 frame that will be given off to Seascape. They will light it up, and it'll be in front of Town Hall for the several months, through the holidays and then through the spring, so that it indicates that we're celebrating our 300th, and there'll be some other spotlight on Town Hall for that.
Thank you, Terry.
Sorry, 8E is correspondence from Ms. Suzanne Barbado requesting traffic controls on Old North Road in the Kingston Historic District. It really relates to the issues that are going on throughout town, and this is a much larger discussion than just Old North Road, and there's no easy solution to this. There are many locations throughout town that residents are complaining about traffic, speed control devices. They're requesting certain things like speed bumps, increased police patrol. I've spoken to Chief Moynihan about it, and we've come to the conclusion, since it is a town-wide issue, from corner to corner, that he's going to have like a forum on it at a large venue, whether it's the high school or maybe URI, one of the auditoriums, where anyone in town, any association, anyone can come in and discuss their specific traffic issues. But it has to be a comprehensive plan. It can't be just targeting one area or the next, because before you know it, we'll have 100 requests for the same thing. It has to be a lot of enforcement, outreach, information, and I'm confident that will be done. So that is something that we will be working on within the next month or two to set something like that up. I'll jump to the town manager's report. There'll be 3 items I'll speak about very briefly. One will be the water ban, and our Director of Public Services is here, Rich Bourbonnais, to answer any subject matter questions. Tomorrow, on the 13th, there will be a meeting at the state level for the Drought Steering Advisory Commission, I believe it's called. And they will be presenting facts. Veolia will be there, as well as all the stakeholders in the state, to discuss the status of water bans and where we're at. They will present data on where we were and where we are. I'm sure this rain has helped. It's unknown to what extent. And then a decision will be made by them to discuss if and when this water ban can be lifted. I know many people are waiting on that meeting. I'll also discuss very briefly on the bike path. We've been working very hard. I know I've been briefing the council on it. I think the town people need to know about some of this stuff too as well. So there are 16 intersections in town. DOT is giving us a plan of ways to improve the safety of it. It's truly a real comprehensive safety plan of how to improve all the intersections that cross our roads with the bike path. I was told we have the most crossings in the state, and technology has improved quite a bit since we put this bike path in, and it draws a lot of people in town. So we've got the staff has been working very hard on a safety plan, which I'll update you at the meeting on some of the stuff we're looking at. And the third thing.
And has the Bicycle Pedestrian Advisory Committee been involved in this last agenda item and this agenda item?
So that's a good question. So last Thursday or Friday is when the staff did their final review. So we will give it to the BPAC to look at and provide some input if they'd like. And the final thing, once again, many questions come up about Old Tower Hill Road. We had 4 phases of improvement there. We're on phase 2 right now. Phase 3 will be coming up soon, and I'll just brief the town on what's going on there. If we go to new business, there's a resolution for Military Suicide Awareness Month on 12A. 12B, the resolution authorizing the town clerk to advertise for a order of notice, a public hearing to consider a municipal court. We have the enabling legislation from the General Assembly, which has been in effect for a while, and now it's time, our solicitor is assisted in drafting an ordinance, which we will discuss. There are, just as a background, there are 27 towns, cities and towns in the state that have a municipal court, about 2/3. And many people think it's because it's a revenue generator. It's not. It's because of the enforcement powers that are given to the building inspector. We have several cases right now where our building inspector has been in Superior Court for years just trying to clear up a couple of properties that if we had a blight ordinance or if we had a municipal court, could have been cleared up very quickly. It's affecting whole areas of town. So we really need, we really should seriously look at a municipal court, and there are many reasons for that. We go to D. 12D is in David. This is for a robotic device that puts down striping for soccer fields and football fields. From the write-up that I was given, it cuts down on the amount of man-hours dramatically on what it would take to restripe all these fields, and it uses satellite technology to do it, and so which is, we have the money for it. There's really no issues on purchasing it. E is GASB 87, which stands for Government Accounting Standards Board 87, relates to the way that our bond rating and the way this town is measured in its financial stability. There's a change by GASB standards, and we will now be, all the leases that we have will be tabulated through an audit to see what our liabilities are. This $20,000 that we would spend on an audit to assist us so that we meet these standards and preserve our bond rating and everything that goes along with it is money well spent. This would be a tremendous amount of work by the staff, and we probably would be late in many of our filings if we had to undertake it. F and G, a tax abatement request. And once again, we saw our tax assessor come up. He's here to answer any questions on that. H is a mutual aid agreement with the town of Narragansett. As we all know, the town line is staggered, and it crosses into Jerusalem, right near East Matunic Beach. It's very impractical for Narragansett to send and patrol that area with a Narragansett cruiser. So South Kingston has a patrol in the area. We charge them a nominal fee for their assistance. It's $8,000. And it's, once again, in the spirit of cooperation with that town. I think that's a very reasonable fee to charge them. Narragansett really needs that because the insurance premiums of the people who live in that area, if there's no police patrol, would go up substantially. So that is, I have the contract in front of me, but I wanted to bring it to your attention before I signed it.
Thank you, Jim.
That's it.
All right. Any questions from the members for the town manager at this time?
So I just wanted to see if we could add as a discussion item, the East Matunic Beach project and the parking issue that goes along with that.
Sure.
Okay.
Oh, do you want me to give you a briefing on that now, or do you want me to wait till the open meeting?
Maybe wait until the meeting so
Sure.
that if people aren't here, they can catch it.
Yes.
Thanks.
All right. Any other questions for the manager? All right, we'll take about a 7-minute recess and begin the meeting at 7:30.
is adorable. Just so you know. I need that dog. So cute. So people are asking, so the meeting is paused. Look like that. Look like that right now on YouTube.
Okay, good evening. Welcome to Town Hall. It is Monday, September 12, around 7:30 p.m. for a regularly scheduled Town Council meeting. First order of business is the pledge to the flag. All right, next on the agenda is the land acknowledgement statement, which I will read. The town of South Kingstown pays homage to the indigenous people and land on which the town is now located. Let this acknowledgement serve as a reminder of our ongoing efforts to recognize, honor, reconcile, and partner with the Narragansett tribe whose land and water we benefit from today. Next, we have the roll call. If you would, Susan.
Council President McEntee,
Here.
Council Vice President Collins,
Here.
Councilwoman Bergner,
Here.
Councilwoman Kelso. Here. Councilwoman Rose.
Here.
All members are present.
Thank you. Next, we have the introduction of new police compassion dog Leo. And at this time, I'm going to hand it over to you, Jim Manny.
Thank you, Council President. I'll give a brief introduction then before we bring in the star of the show. So this program is something new to law enforcement, and it's long overdue, and it came at the perfect time. Really what it is, it's about victims and de-escalating tense situations. It's about people that have had tragedies in their lives, and it's about police officers that are under tremendous amount of stress. And these compassion dogs are the new tool that law enforcement agencies are bringing in, and it's overwhelmingly one of the most positive things I've ever seen. It's used not only for law enforcement officers, it's used for senior centers, schools, outreach, just connecting the community to the police department. And we finally have one, and it's the most beautiful little puppy you've ever seen. But I'd like to thank three people and organizations that have really helped us make this possible. Kerry and Michael Buckley are the breeders, and they were supposed to come tonight, and they came last week when this puppy was introduced to the police department, but they have a new litter tonight, and they have to be there to, they take a lot of pride in breeding these puppies. We also have a local pet store that stepped up and offered food for life for this beautiful little dog, and that's the Rumford Pet Center in the Belmont Plaza. And food for the entire life of this dog, as well as baths, which means a lot from a local community-based store. And AT&T, a large corporation, has stepped up and gave us thousands of dollars to help run this program and bring us the resources we need. So enough about that. I'd like to introduce our new compassion puppy, Leo, which means Law Enforcement Officer. That's the name that won. And Chief, come on in. Officer Brian Monty is the canine officer that has this puppy. And one of the questions that came up is, where does he stay and who takes care of him? Well, this is the luckiest guy in the world that has to take this puppy home and take care of him and clean up after him. So, Brian, why don't you bring in, let some people pet him and
Will Leo come to future meetings? We might need him in budget season.
Chief Moynihan, you want to add anything to this?
You know, I think you've seen the value of having Leo here. It brings a smile on everyone's face, and that's really the important part of it, whether the police department is investigating crimes or incidents involving children. It really eases the tension. And just really in the police department itself, we bring Leo right down the hall. People are coming out of the office, and it really is a great addition. So we're excited about the program. We're excited to share Leo with the community. You know, we're getting a lot of phone calls already, whether it be from the schools or different businesses. They can't wait to meet him. So we're excited about it. Thank you.
Thank you,
Chief. Jim, perhaps we can send a letter to each respective party thanking them for their contributions to allow us to have Leo and support Leo.
Yes, sir. It's a good idea.
And I do have a little gift for the little guy. That's yours. Does he like it? Oh.
Thank you, Chief. Leo, Ryan. Thank you, Officer Monty. Council President, I don't know how you follow that, so it's up to you how to handle that.
Fun to live up to. All right, we'll continue on with the agenda. Next, we have item 4, which is approval of minutes of previous meetings.
Motion to approve item for A, B, and C.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Anyone opposed? All right, that motion passes. That's going to bring us to item 5, the consent agenda.
Motion to approve the consent agenda? Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Anyone opposed? All right, that motion passes. That'll bring us to 6 licenses. A is a resolution granting a temporary mass gathering permit to conduct a Wakefield Oktoberfest event on Saturday, October 1, 2022, from 10 a.m. to 11 p.m. on Main Street between Robinson Street and Kenyon Avenue to the Contemporary Theater Company of Main Street, Wakefield, subject to public safety requirements set by the building official and police chief. Application by Chris Simpson. Chris, come on up.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening. Welcome to Town Hall. Obviously, a lot of us here are familiar with the event, and we look forward to it, but if you just want to sort of tell the audience, looking forward to it.
Absolutely. Yeah, so Oktoberfest, now in its 6th season on Main Street, was an event that used to be produced by the Wakefield Village Association, but as their mission has sort of shifted post-pandemic to help the whole business community continue to flourish and come back, the Village Association asked the theater to become the nonprofit that produces the event. It takes place largely on our grounds and on the grounds of Phil's Main Street Grill. We have Ken Tetzner here from Phil's in the back as well. So we are collaborating to produce the event exactly as it has been done before. Our intent is to keep it going, not to make it hugely larger or in any way different, really. Just it's a wonderful time when people in town can come down from about noon to 5 o'clock with families, and from 5 o'clock on to about 11 o'clock, where there's music and there's, we have beer and wine and spirits in the parking lot in accordance with our licenses, and the vendors on the main street in the parking lots. It's just a great time for the town. Musical acts. We have, aerialists and a fire dancer and vendors with all kinds of arts and crafts. It's a really great time.
Excellent. Thank you, Chris. Any questions up here for Chris?
Motion to approve item 6A.
Second?
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Anyone opposed? All right, 6A passes. Chris, good luck. We look forward to it. Always brings a lot of activity to town. It's going to be a fun time.
Thank you very much, and look forward to seeing you all there.
All right, that's going to bring us to 7, public hearing. A is a public hearing relative to proposed amendments to the Town Code, Chapter 12, Offenses and Miscellaneous Provisions that would add Article 3, Cannabis, as follows. Chapter 12, Offenses and Miscellaneous Provisions, add Section 12-36, Definitions. For the purposes of this chapter, cannabis shall be defined by Rhode Island General Laws, Section 21-28.11-36, as amended. Section 12-37, prohibition against cannabis smoking, vaporizing in public places. No person shall smoke or vaporize cannabis in public places, including outdoor common areas, parks, beaches, athletic and recreational facilities, and other public spaces. Section 12-38, enforcement. Any person who violates the provisions of this chapter may be fined $100 for the first offense, up to $250 for a second offense, and up to $500 for a third offense. This ordinance shall take effect upon passage. Mike Ursullo, I'm going to turn it over to you to sort of brief us on this.
Sure. So the purpose of this ordinance is to really put into effect a ban on the smoking marijuana or cannabis, similar to ban on smoking tobacco products. So anywhere that tobacco products are banned, restaurant, any type of place where the public is invited to, any type of town-owned space, recreation facilities, etc., this will do the same thing for cannabis or marijuana. And we've incorporated the state definition of cannabis into the ordinance. It's very broad. It includes hemp, it includes the oils, the seeds, et cetera, so that'll take it all in. So basically, bottom line, I recommend it because it's simply going to prohibit the smoking of marijuana in all the same areas that smoking of tobacco is prohibited in.
Are the penalties the same?
The penalties are similar, yes. We followed state law on that.
Similar but different?
Yeah, I can check as you open it up for public hearing. I believe they're the same.
Okay. Any questions for Mike while we're talking about it now? All right, this is a public hearing, so we're going to open up to the public. This is specific to this item here, so if you're interested in speaking on it, feel free to come up. We just ask that you identify yourself, and we'll limit you to 5 minutes. So first come, first serve. Come on up.
Good evening. My name is Doral Beasley. Okay, I was in this chamber a month ago. That was the evening that I had brought up the fact that the referendum that's on the November ballot had asked the residents of South Kingstown as to whether or not they want to have the sale of recreational marijuana in our town is really a moot point, because the way the state law was written, the 6 cities or towns that have compassion centers, like the one we have in Pershing Avenue, do not fall under the jurisdiction of the voters of that town. If they pay, I think it's $175,000 to the state of Rhode Island, then on December 1st of this year, they can start selling recreational marijuana. Now, on my way home a month ago, it was this was really bothering me, and here's why. Before I came up to the podium that night, Mr. McIntyre, you said at least twice, maybe 3 times, that the fact that the voters were going to have the opportunity to approve or disapprove whether or not we're going to have recreational marijuana sold in this town. But then you were asking Mr. Ursullo a couple of times whether or not what I was saying was correct, and he said yes, it was. So here's my question. Why did he let you say that multiple times before I came up to the podium that night? And why did he let you say that, the same thing, the first time the marijuana issue came up, I think the month before in this chamber? Why does your counsel let you make an incorrect statement multiple times before he corrects you? You should ask the question. Also, the referendum. If he knew that if he knew the law stated that if you have a compassion center in your town, or say your town, that they can sell recreational marijuana on December 1st, whether the voters approve it or not. I don't believe you ever mentioned that to you when you were drafting up the referendum, the language that's going to be on the ballot. So if I'm a councilman, I'm saying to myself, what's going on here? He's supposed to be guarding what you say and do at every meeting. I don't see that happening here. Mr. Silva's been in here, 27 years, 25 years? I think he came in 1995, 27 years. I don't know if you want to take this on between now and November, but maybe the next council should really consider that it's time for this town to have new council representing the town council, so that the full possibilities and that Mr. Manny brings to this job can be realized.
Thank you, Doral. Anyone else in the audience like to speak? If so, come on up.
Hi, Gary Chapman. I just have a question on the term public places. I'm not sure what that really means.
Right, so that means any place to which the public is invited, meaning it would include restaurants, aquariums. Not that we have an aquarium here in town, but I'm just giving as examples, so that anywhere the public is invited, smoking is prohibited. There's a carve-out for casinos, obviously, in certain areas, but
So if somebody questioned that, I mean, is that definition in there for public places?
it is in there, so.
And the other question I had was when you were talking about, any place that you could smoke cigarettes, I kept thinking that, you can smoke cigarettes walking downtown on the sidewalk on Main Street. I mean, so.
Technically, you're not supposed to smoke cigarettes while you're walking on public property, including sidewalks, but technically.
Yeah, well, I mean, are you going to stop somebody from smoking a cigarette?
Well, that's why the law.
So I guess my question was what happens when that goes on downtown, walking down?
Yeah, someone would have to be charged with, violating an ordinance.
Thank you, Gary. All right, anyone else in the audience? If so, feel free to just come on up. All right, seeing none.
I can respond to the question about
Go ahead,
the
Mike.
fines before you close. So the laws on smoking start with a $250 fine and then go to $500 for the second and third offenses. This starts with a $100 fine, then goes to $250 and $500. That's the difference.
Say those again for me, Mike.
Sure. So under the smoking regulations, the first offense is $250, and then the second offense is $500. This law begins with the first offense of $100, a second of $250, and the third at $500. That's the difference.
Got it.
So you know.
Thank you. All right, considering that, is there any more public comment? Feel free to just come on up. All right, seeing none. Do I hear a motion to close the public hearing?
I have a question.
Go ahead, Deb.
Why the difference?
When they adopted the Cannabis Act, for whatever reason, maybe they didn't cross-reference tobacco, but they started with a $100 fine. Legislature decided in its ultimate wisdom to begin with a $100 fine instead of $250.
All right. Do I hear a motion to close the public hearing?
Motion to close the public hearing. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Anyone opposed? All right, that motion passes. Do I hear a motion on 7A?
Motion to approve 7A.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Anyone opposed? All right, 7A passes. All right, that's going to bring us to item 8, communications. 8A is an email dated August 3, 2022 from Valerie Spiridolozzi requesting a letter of support for a proposed new Spanish language immersion charter school and potential rental of the South Road School building, continued from August 9, 2022, in an email dated September 7, 2022. Valerie, come on up.
Hello again.
Welcome. I know we continued this from the last meeting. We were seeking a little more information. You did provide some information, particularly the executive summary, but we have you here, so if you want to sort of brief us, I guess.
Sure. Our group has continued to work on a proposal that is due to be submitted to Rhode Island Department of Education this Thursday. And we have a section in the proposal about facilities where we do propose several potential different options, one of which would be the vacant school that this town has here. And so we are requesting from the town a letter of acknowledgement of the fact that we are interested in renting the facility potentially. And any information you would have on the process and procedure by which we could do that.
All right. Any questions up here for Valerie? Well, I'll just start off here. We did get your executive summary, very well written. Certainly a little more comprehensive than the last thing we had received, which is good. I think a plan like this, however, requires, a lot more, even more comprehensive type of thing for us to partner with a potential charter school or have an interest or putting our name on something that expresses our interest to want to lease to you and be a partner with you in that endeavor. I think for me, I'm not there yet. I know this deadline is within 2 days for you or 3 days. This requires, a very sort of long vetting process, I believe, and I think we just don't have quite all that information yet. So that's
We have the
where I'm at.
100-page version if you'd like, but
How long is the complete or the full?
well, we're limited to 75 pages
We're limited to
plus
75.
plus appendices, but we probably have another. Yeah, we're well over 100 pages at the moment.
Now, I understand you have certain projections as the total number of students.
At the moment, our request is for a K through 5 school with 2 classrooms per grade, so 22 students per classroom, which would be 264 students in the school. We would not expect that they would all come from South Kingstown by any means. It's a statewide, what they call a statewide catchment area. So it would be an open lottery, as are the other charter schools in the state. Not all of the charter schools are completely open. So for instance, one of the other bilingual charter schools that does exist, Nuestro Mundo, in Providence is only for the Providence School District. So it was a different type of charter school, whereas we are proposing an independent charter school where students could request to attend from different communities. And some of our other, we've got letters of support from various community organizations, not just in this town, but in other towns and areas of the state, groups that represent Spanish-speaking populations, educational consultants, et cetera.
Now, I know you listed a few alternative different locations. Looks like you got South Road as first option, another option in South Kingstown, I believe, and then somewhere in Newport. if I
Correct.
remember right.
We have been discussing different options.
Yeah. Have you talked with sort of the property owners of those?
Yes, one of them is prepared to lease to us, but South Road School is still a good option to us, so we would still like to pursue that and continue to have discussions about it. Again, what we ask for tonight would be a letter of acknowledgement and support that we would be able to continue those discussions and enter into that possibility. So,
Any other questions from members?
I don't know. It's a big question, I think, for us. I think clearly it's very impressive, all the efforts that you've put into putting this together. I think it is a need that obviously members of our community care very deeply about. And I think probably you would find similar things around the state. So I think it would be successful. The town has certainly rented that same space out to a private school in the area. So I don't think there's any logical reason to prevent a charter school with the option as well. So I guess after all the consideration that I've given to it, I'd be willing to support your request.
So I have underlying ideological problems with another charter school, I think. We know it siphons resources from the school department budget. The money follows the child. I think at this time, when the school department's working towards their redistricting plan and their new facilities proposals, that introducing another charter school, we already have 2, introducing another charter school is not the way to go at this time. So we talk about the money following the child, and I think it was about 18,000 in school dollars that go to the charter schools, I think now. I know the cost per pupil is up at around 25, but I don't think all of that money goes. I think it's about 18. But you and I both know.
Yeah, it depends on the district. Not all of the money
Here,
goes.
South
Correct.
Kingstown's portion, what we send is about 18,000 a child. When 5 kids leave second grade, it doesn't reduce the need for staff in the traditional public schools. But the dollars have been reduced by those 5 in that grade school level. We still need the 2 sections or the 3 sections of second grade to accommodate the students that are there. So my problem is ideological at this point. You know I'm a supporter of DLI. I see the need for the program, but I would much prefer for our school committee to go back and revisit the language programs and develop something that all children can benefit from, not just those who win a lottery.
Understood. I think that it was not how anyone who has been working on this project this summer planned to spend our summer vacation. We wish we didn't have to. But we do very strongly believe that immersion language learning from a young age is the most effective and important way for students to become bilingual as adults.
And I totally agree with you.
That opportunity should exist for children in this town, in this region, and in this state. So.
It's the siphoning of resources for me.
So I just, I have to agree with Deb. The money leaving for those kids that are leaving is concerning. It's hard because your idea is wonderful and something that, you know, kids would benefit from, but we have to also look at the repercussions of that as a sort of big picture. I just wanted to say that. This is tough. So for me, a couple of months ago, people were concerned that we were repurposing schools without community involvement, and I've been attending the school building committee meetings, and where they're moving forward, and what the schools will look like, what schools we will have, what we will do to them is all in play, and then what we will do, or what the council will do with the empty school buildings is still also phase 2 of that, and I would want to have community involvement before we said we're going to put a school there. We hear all the time about the need for affordable housing. What are we doing? I mean, it's you can't rent something, you can't buy something here. It's an Airbnb, it's an academic rental. So we need to try to find ways to address those issues as well. So we have a lot of competing agendas and forces, and you know how I feel. I mean, I know you are an incredible professor at URI. I know what you do and the work that you put into this, and I wholeheartedly support the program. I know that what the children got out of the immersion was very valuable. I would never take that away from what that program was giving. And so I support the program, but I don't have enough information, and I'm trying to take the highest level look at what's going to happen with 3 buildings plus South Road. The other piece of it, Val, is that in the building committee, they didn't do a needs assessment of facility needs of South Road. I don't even know how many millions of dollars it might need in deferred maintenance when Matunic and West Kingston are looking at $10 million. So it would be hard to commit to something not knowing what that was going to cost the town and how we were going to figure out how to pay that. So I don't have enough information, and I'm just trying to give you insight into the different things I'm weighing as I talk.
Sure, sure. Yeah, I mean, it is a problem. There will be vacant buildings. The buildings have been rented to other schools, so we hope that we would be given the same consideration to rent the vacant properties that the town has available. And, hope that we can still consider it to be an option as we continue down this process. It is definitely a high in demand program that we plan to provide. And I think that families in this town with young children want innovative educational options.
I know.
Well, Valerie, we appreciate your efforts, what you've done here. You definitely have something here. As far as this specific location, I think you've heard from a few different council members here. A lot of things are still in play as far as the vacant buildings, what we're doing, where we're going to go next. And we'd hate to sort of commit to something without exploring potential options in that regard. But it seems like you do have potential commitments to get in different locations, maybe even South Kingstown. So if that can work for you, that's great. Or if you want to sort of wait and see how things progress with school facilities and come back at a later point, we can continue the conversation definitely, so.
Sure, yep, we're hoping to add something to our application that at least it could be an open conversation. But we can certainly come back at a later date with more firm information. I don't know if we can wait as long as, as it might take to decide what to do with all the facilities, but we hope so.
All right, thank you. It's not just we don't have all the information from you, it's we don't have a lot of information as to where we're going next with our facilities too. So it's a combination of the two. So, but thank you for your time.
Thank you.
All right. Do I hear a motion on this item?
Motion to accept item 8A and place it on file. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Anyone opposed? All right, that motion passes. This is going to bring us to item 8B, which is a letter dated August 10, 2022, from Russell Brown tendering his resignation from the Zoning Board of Review.
I make a motion that we accept Bo's resignation and thank him for his service with a letter. Hope he feels better soon.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Anyone opposed? All right, that motion passes. It's going to bring us to item C, an email dated August 18, 2022, from the Exeter Town Council requesting support from the Rhode Island League of Cities and Towns for legislation mitigating the negative effects of House Bill H8220 Sub A, an act relating to taxation, levy, and assessment of local taxes relative to assessment of renewable energy resources.
Make a motion to place this on file.
Second.
We have a motion and a second.
We discussed this during the work session, that the way that Exeter assessed its property is not the way South Kingstown does it, so their desire to relief would have no effect on us. So if you weren't here for the work session, I hope I summarized it pretty well. Thank you.
Should we want to give just a further explanation?
I'll give a brief explanation, and once again, our tax assessor's here to.
Yeah, we can bring him up if he wants to talk about it. We can
Yes.
bring him up.
Mr. Mark Capuano is our tax assessor, and
I believe we have a
he's the subject matter expert on this.
Thank you, Town Manager. So I did reach out to Exeter, and I spoke to the Assessors Department there, and really what they're looking at now is that the rate of $5 per kilowatt for tangible was established in 2016. And what they're saying at that time is they didn't have, well, Rhode Island as a whole didn't have any data to really say, well, what justifies the $5? Where's that number coming from? So now communities feel that there is data that, from an assessment standpoint, can be looked at, and maybe that $5 per kilowatt could maybe be $7, or it could be more. Again, we don't tax real estate, but if there was an increase in that tangible rate, then South Kingstown would receive additional revenue if they wanted to adopt that and use that rate. But that's really what the basis of this is that they are no longer able to reevaluate the real estate, the land portion of the solar projects. So now they're looking at a way of possibly making up that revenue or being able to tax tangible in a different way.
Again, which has no effect on us because the impact that they're feeling is not applicable to us here in South Kingstown.
That is correct, yes. Council, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Anyone opposed? All right, that motion passes. It's going to bring us to item D, which is a letter dated August 22, 2022, from Joanne Esposito, 300th Anniversary Steering Committee Chair, requesting approval for a town hall lighting ceremony on Saturday, December 17, 2022. Joanne, if you're here, feel free to come on up. I don't think I saw you. Okay. All right.
Motion to accept item 8D. Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Sure. We talked in the work session that the high school is going to construct the 300 from the wood shop, and then Seascape is going to light it up, and it'll be on the town hall at the town lighting on the 17th.
And we'll stay on throughout holiday season, right, Jim?
I'm sorry?
The lights will stay on throughout holiday season?
Yes, that's correct. The lights will stay on from, until the fall of 2023.
Excellent.
They'll stay on for quite a while.
Just want to add.
Let me correct myself. December 2022 to March of 2023. The lights will stay on. These are on top of the Christmas lights that we will have. This is a lighting ceremony at the town hall to kick off the 300th anniversary.
We just want to note that the costs are being sponsored.
Yes. So this, Ms. Esposito sent a letter explaining all of this. So Seascape, a Rhode company, is giving us a discounted rate for these lights at the town hall, and the Wakefield Village Association is offered to sponsor that. Once again, they will go on December of 2022 and stay until March of 2023.
Thank you, Jim. All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Anyone opposed? All right, that motion passes. That's going to bring us to item E, an email dated September 7, 2022, from Susan Barbado requesting traffic controls on Old North Road in the Kingston Historic District. Susan, if you're here, come on up. Yeah, that's fine.
Good evening. My name's John Barbado. I live at 26 Old North Road in Kingston, and I'm here on behalf of Joy Utter, who lives at 49 Old North Road, my wife, and a majority of the residents in the historic portion of Old North Road. We've lived there 19 years now, and most recently, the university has made changes to their road pattern on Upper College Road. Along with that, the town is in the process of looking at repaving Old North Road. Right now, they've been out there, I think it's on hold, according to the town engineer, because of the Kingston Water Department's thinking about replacing the water line in the street. Probably won't take place until the spring. But in the meantime, Old North Road has become a raceway, and you can talk to anybody who's been on the street. It is like absolutely crazy. In addition to that, the disrespect of the town's laws with respect to driving down the wrong way on Old North Road has, Joy Utter has been telling me, and I assume you know Reverend Joy Utter, longtime resident of the town. She's almost been hit several times by people coming down the wrong way. The folks over at the fraternity house across the street from my house, a couple of the guys have almost been hit a couple of times by people coming down the wrong way. And I see it every night when I'm out there walking my dog. I mean, one night I was out there and the people coming down the wrong way turned their lights off and sped up so that they could get by all the houses and get down the street. I mean, it is absolutely insane what's going on out there. Someone is going to get killed in the street. And we don't want it to happen. It's a great neighborhood, a lot of long-term neighbors there. And the university, by putting in speed tables, or speed bumps, have funneled all of the traffic, all of their deliveries onto our road, our town road, and it's just raising havoc. We can do, and I agree that they should have a town forum. However, we can do a few things at very little expense to the town at this time, and that is put in a sign, a do not enter sign. There's two of them up there. They're a pie on post, but we have posts at the end of the roadway there that we could put one do not enter sign, and have a $100 fine if you go down the road the wrong way. And I don't know what the fine is for it. I have called the police department before. And about a year and a half ago, they were responsive by putting up their temporary speed check on the road over by the fraternity house, and it had an immediate effect. But once it got taken back down again, there would, everybody was back to winding up as they turn off 138 and going as fast as they can to the stop sign, rarely stopping at the stop sign. And I told the sergeant, who was very, very responsive, you guys could make a lot of money here having somebody sit in this road, because nobody pays attention to the speed or the direction on the road. And that includes delivery trucks for the university, which all take the road now. So the couple of things in our requests here that could be implemented immediately is a do not enter sign at the end, a increased, strict enforcement of the 25-mile-an-hour speed limit, and the future issues, the speed tables, bicycle lane, a lot of people biking on there, a lot of people walking their dogs and strolling, at lunchtime. On the street and on the sidewalk, it would be really helpful if we had, those bicycle lanes on the side. There's a lot of biking people there too. This is a residential neighborhood. I realize that, it's a public street and people have a right to drive on it, but they should drive, A, within the speed limit and in the right direction on the street. I would like to see us do something immediately with this if possible. And,
John?
and the other issue is that if we could direct the design people to consider the speed bumps and speed indicator on it, along with some crosswalks for the both residents and university people.
All right,
And
thank you, John.
that's my whole spiel. We want to do something about it now, not after a referendum, a forum that might take place next year, and by then somebody could get killed.
Well, we definitely want to help you. We appreciate you bringing this to our attention. Usually, when things like this come up, we direct our police chief or our town manager to work with the police chief to do traffic studies to understand the issue more, and not take a year in doing it. Do it rather quickly so we understand.
I'd be happy to meet with the public works people, with the police chief, the police sergeant, to get something done.
Yep. And I know Town Manager Jim Manny is trying to organize a forum with the new police chief as to gain residents' input as to which roads are dangerous, where are there traffic issues that we're concerned about, so we can address those and put a priority as to which ones. But Jim, if you want to talk on that a little bit.
Yes, Council President. Ms. Barbado, thank you for bringing this to our attention, and we take your comments and your concerns very serious, as we do every resident. So we are working. This is a town-wide issue, not just a town-wide issue, it's a state issue. COVID has had a lot of impact across the state in many areas, but speeding is one of them, and no one in traffic safety can really figure out why. But it is an issue. One of the first priorities I spoke with Chief Moynihan about was, because he lives in town as well as I do, is how do we address this for the whole town? And one of the things he planned on doing was having a forum that will fill up the high school with anyone that wants to come and tell us the areas they live in and what the issues they see. We will be working on this, and we're not going to take months or years to do it. We're going to try and act pretty quickly. The chief has a plan already with some type of enforcement involving signage, the flashing signs that we use. We have 2 of them right now. But one of the things I would caution anyone about, anyone that studied traffic safety, and I was in it for over 3 decades, is this. Traffic is like water. If you divert it from one area, it goes to the next. It doesn't go away. Speed bumps, as you already stated, Mr. Barbado, really, because the university put them up, diverted the traffic to your area, which made a problem. So there's no one answer or one thing that will solve this problem. It's a combination of things. But really it comes down to enforcement. And that is something that we will be working on. And the chief, I could see him nodding at me in the back of the room that he's taking notes on this, and we'll be working on this in very short order. We'll address your issue pretty quickly, and then we'll move on to the rest of the town. Promise.
Jim?
Well, why wait?
No, we're not going to wait.
This is happening here now.
No, we're not
I've
gonna
come
wait.
before the council and you in asking you to take care of this now and not wait. And because of the circumstances.
We're not going to wait. We're going to be there.
Because of the circumstances. One, the town is planning on repaving the road, a good time to put the, quote, speed bumps in place, and they work. I've seen them work unbelievably. I met with the Historic Commission earlier on this, and we had a long discussion about it, and I was telling them about the town of Barnstable on the Cape, who has put them in their downtown, and it is amazing how it's controlled traffic down there. We're not wrecking anybody's cars, very similar to the ones that you see at the university put in, and it is controlled, and I drive over that way all the time. It's controlled the traffic there immensely. Traffic is slowed down. They put the crosswalks on top of it so that people can cross safely. And all I'm asking you to do at this point in time is get the Public Works Department to at least consider doing what we're asked with respect to that, and get the Public Works Department to put in a new down on a post do not enter sign so that there's no misunderstanding by somebody because it was too high in the air. I want to say that anybody does it fragrantly, disrespecting the laws of the town. And, it's unacceptable. And that's a couple of the students there almost got hit by people coming down the wrong way. And they're doing it because they can't spend 5 minutes to drive around the block. And, if I was the police department in charge of it, I would be very unhappy with these people, you know, because they're disrespecting the law. They're disrespecting the speed laws going one way, and they're disrespecting the one-way law going the other. In the time that I've lived there, I have never even considered about driving down the street the wrong way. So we can do a couple of things that won't cost the town very much money, and nobody's going to get there, you know, all excited about putting in a one-way sign down at the end of the street and having a policeman there once in a while giving some tickets. About a week ago, they stopped some people driving the wrong way, the police department did, and they let them go. I mean, I don't understand it.
Thank you for bringing this up. I really appreciate it. I was wondering if we could speak with URI Chief of Police, Mike Jagoda. Maybe we could use some of their resources to enhance some enforcement. I mean, I hear what you're saying. I think lowering the signs doesn't seem like a complicated thing. And if we could at least communicate with URI, maybe, you know, they have officers on segways and bikes as well as in cars, so that we could maybe increase that. I know the students just came back last week, so I mean, there's a lot of new people that don't know what they're doing or looking for a parking space, so we should ask URI to maybe increase their presence on Old North Road. Is that something we could do?
I can guarantee our chief will be meeting with the URI police chief very short order and trying to help this situation out and the rest of the situations going on in town.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, one of the alternatives, you know, I talked to my wife about is maybe they'll let me put my own speed bump in. There's portable speed bumps that would be happy to purchase and put out there. I'll put the no one-way sign in, and then I'll go buy my own
Camera.
speed gun, right? Which I looked online, you can get them for like $250.
Yeah.
And I'll sit out there taking pictures of them, and I mean, it's come to that point. Something has to be done.
So I can tell you that I would think that the town manager is going to be right on this. He doesn't let things slide. He's a doer. He will be on this tomorrow morning saying, we can't have this again. He will work to try to implement some safety, something for you. Sorry, Jim.
I don't want this buried, all right?
John, I
I
don't
mean, you know, my whole life I've gone to planning boards and zoning board meetings, and I kind of got the feeling like this is going to get shoved into the back, and it's just another crazy person coming up here requesting something. This is for real. Somebody's going to get killed in this road.
Know that road.
And I don't want it to be me or my dog.
No,
To be frank.
I can guarantee you this won't be buried.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, all.
I'd just like to point out that we did, I mean, the Bicycle Pedestrian Advisory Committee undertook like 3 or 4 years of study of all the safety concerns in the town, working with the police. So I hope we don't lose sight of the fact that we've already put years of effort into this, so we don't have to go back and reinvent the wheel, hopefully. But I do think a forum is good, so we can update that if need be, if there's perchance something that they didn't see and all that work. I would say that since there's already do not enter signs there, we can probably have authorization that is already existing to put up another sign lower down that people might see. I would like to believe that it's a lot of new students who might not really be familiar with the area, and maybe they'll learn as time goes on. We shall see.
All right. We're sort of limiting this to, you can speak at comments from interested citizens, which is next.
Yeah, it's next.
So-
Motion to place item 8E on file and to direct, can I do both? Refer to the town manager. Motion to refer item 8E to the town manager. Sorry.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Anyone opposed? All right, that motion passes. That's going to bring us to item 9, comments from interested citizens. At this time, I invite anybody to come on up to the podium, speak about any issues that you'd like. We just ask that you identify yourself, and we're going to limit you to 5 minutes.
Hi, my name's Holly Ferguson. I live at 59 Old North Road and don't have a lot to say other than John said what we're all thinking. It's really dangerous. I have 2 kids there. It's really hard to get out in the morning to take them to school because the traffic is going so fast. They don't want to stop because they can't wait to get to the stop sign, if they even stop at the stop sign. And then when I come home or any other time of the day, with or without the kids, I'm always worried that I'm going to get rear-ended going into my own driveway. I have to slow down to get into my driveway, but they're right up my backside. So please, please listen to John, because we're all in the same boat. I live next to the Reverend Joy, and believe you me, we are all very, very anxious. So thank you for taking it on board.
Thank you. Anyone else in the audience, feel free. First come, first serve.
So Kingston's been my home for 65 years. When we moved there in 1955, there wasn't a traffic light at Upper College Road. It was a stop sign. And the university total on-campus population is about 6,000. Now it's closer to 15. We have basically a small city inside of a village now. What the gentleman is proposing is, I feel his pain. I live on Biscuit City Road, and people zoom up and down our street at way over the 25-mile-an-hour speed limit too. But what he's proposing is like putting a Band-Aid on a wound that you need a tourniquet to stop the bleeding. That's how bad it is. So the issue with Old North Road is not keeping the one-way section between 138 and Briar Lane. The real issue is reopening Old North Road to two-way traffic the entire way from 138 up to Stony Fort. Now, in the historic district portion that he was talking about, there are 13 homes. So 13 homes on either side of the road between 138 and Briar Lane that have to negotiate onto that section. Now, beyond Briar Lane, between there and at the end of Old North Road, there are 111 homes. And when Fieldstone Farm finally comes online, there'll be 39 more homes. So now there's 150 homes between there and the old end of North Road. Now I bring that up because when people leave those homes, those 150 homes, and actually when they leave these 13 homes too, if they want to go to Wakefield, they have two options. They can go down Briar Lane or Fortin Road or Flag Road, get on Upper College Road, wait for the traffic to get to the light at the library, take a left, and then head to Wakefield. Now, there are times of the day when the university is in session when that may take you between 10 and 20 minutes to get from your house to that light at the library. When Paul Reynolds was the president of the Kingston Improvement Association, he was on the Route 138 Reconstruction Committee, as I've been on for over 20 years. When he used to leave his house, he wouldn't go to the university because we used to have our meetings around 4 o'clock. He would go up North Road, down Stony Fort to Broad Rock, and then wind his way to the height, to this building, doubling his time and doubling his mileage. There are a lot of people that do that. The other thing that's happened because of Old North Road being one way is the traffic leaving the university, a ton of traffic leaving the university, now goes up Flag Road or Briar Lane or Fortin Road, takes a left and goes down there, gets on the Stony Fort and goes from Stony Fort to Shermantown or Slocum Road to Liberty Road to Route 2 or Indian Corner Road to West Allenton Road to Route 4. We've, by turning that into a one-way street, we've taken all that traffic and thrown it either into the university or into other people's neighborhoods. That traffic doesn't belong in other people's neighborhoods. This problem needs to be fixed with the reconstruction of 138. That section of Old North Road needs to be turned back into two-way traffic. Now, you can either do it one or two ways safely. You either add a ton of signalization in the village, or you put two roundabouts in. You put a roundabout in at the intersection of 108 and 138, and you put another roundabout in at the intersection of Old North Road and South Road. And if you put it in the right location, you also eliminate that offset intersection problem that we've had for millennium. Lastly, here's what I ask the people in the historic district every time they go, well, we can't do that because it's an historic district. My question is this: well, if the historic district, instead of being created in the 50s, was created in, say, 1880, when we had dirt roads and a well with a working well to water your horse, does anybody think that today that's what we still have in Kingston? That's the road network we would have? Of course not. The road network has to be upgraded to serve everyone in the village and in the university, not just 13 homes.
Thank you, Doral. Anyone else in the audience? Yeah, feel free to come on up.
Okay, I've spoken to you guys about schools a little too much in the past couple of years, so I'm also a resident of Old North Road, Valerie Spertolizzi, 32 Old North, and I respectfully disagree wholeheartedly with Doral's suggestion that road become a two-way street, because to do it safely, you would have to, as he suggested, either put in a traffic signal or a rotary. And just a quick search of, I've been at transportation research conferences. We have people in the civil engineering department at University of Rhode Island who can assist with traffic studies. And you would need, ideally, one reference here I'm looking at says a half mile apart between traffic signals, and anything less than a half mile apart would require very coordinated sequencing. We already have the traffic light at Upper College and the traffic light at 108. We would have to put a third traffic light in between those, which would be very complicated, I would say, and the backups in between those would be intense. Roundabouts, that would be a much larger project and endeavor. Speaking as a parent with 4 teenage drivers on that road, I can tell you that one of my kids just had a run-in in a roundabout in the Narragansett Rotary. And out-of-town drivers, people who aren't used to rotaries, who come from international locations and other states to come attend and visit the university, would not be familiar enough with roundabouts for that to be an effective traffic control mechanism that close to campus like that. I cannot imagine that being successful. My understanding prior to us moving to that neighborhood is that there was at one point two-way traffic there, and there were a lot of accidents. People waiting at the end to get out and jumping out in front of other cars, coming across 138 where the traffic we know can get high when the lights are green, where the speeds of the traffic can get high. So that would also be problematic, and it would be dangerous in terms of car accidents as opposed to dangers of folks violating the one-way mechanism. I don't think the Barbados included it in their letter, but another idea that my husband suggested is, can we put road spikes at the end of the street where you can only leave the one way instead of going the wrong way up? I can tell you just within the past month, we were walking across the street. We had parked our car at the fraternity house to help the house mother out with something over there. And a car that was presumably a ride-share car was waiting to pick people up near that lot, went out the street the wrong way, and we were actually stopped by someone in a car who was a resident from further up the road, from, I believe it's Bean Farm Road, who was concerned because he was driving with his wife and his infant child in the back seat. And he said, we almost had a head-on when they were coming the wrong way. When they left the fraternity house parking lot, they went the wrong way. These aren't residents of the fraternity house, because for the most part, the residents there know that they should not be doing that. But oftentimes guests, visitors, other folks, rideshare drivers and other people, or folks just looking to make a quick exit from the university and not wait in the long lines at the controlled intersections, will go the wrong way on purpose. And I'd like to believe, Abel, that it's folks who just haven't learned it yet. No, I don't. A lot of them know that the law is there and they're choosing to not abide by it. So we would appreciate additional traffic control mechanisms and enforcement around this area. And I don't think it's just our 13 houses that benefit, it's the safety of the residents and the folks visiting the university and on those streets. Thank you.
Thank you, Valerie. All right, anyone else in the audience? Feel free, just come on up.
Good evening, Jim O'Neill, Matunic. Return to the cannabis issue. Catching up with my newspaper reading, I was shocked to read in the Projo on September 8th. And I'll read this to you regarding the Sweet Spot folks on Pershing Avenue. Excuse me. One of those lottery winners opened the state's 4th dispensary in June. Plant-based compassion centers doing business as Sweet Spot Dispensary in South Kingstown. But rather than open a retail center, the company changed direction and offered home delivery of marijuana products directly from its Warwick Grow Center. And this is what's appalling. The decision allowed the company to skip around the special zoning approval South Kingstown required to have marijuana on that site. These folks, I was involved, there were 4 candidates from South Kingstown on the Zone 5 potluck from the barrel. Hopefully you're familiar with that. I and many other brokers helped a number of candidates find the safest, best egress spots in your community. Property owned by your neighbors, been great stewards of their business in this town. And yet the one place that, by unbelievable luck, last minute, was this Pershing Avenue across from Baker Lee's. There is nothing that any planning board anywhere in Rhode Island or zoning board would have ever approved a dispensary in that site, ever, never. Would have been turned down by the planning board. Planning board, as Mr. Manny told you in the last meeting, these folks have pulled their application. So we have a few questions here. What zone do they belong in? I really think we should appeal the fact that they moved to Warwick. Warwick already has a couple. I don't know if that's zone 4, 3, I've forgotten, I've got maps at home. But they certainly should not be representing zone 5 in South Kingstown. The people that put in to planning, past the planning advisory, unbelievable vetting by planning, unbelievable vetting by zoning, crossing T's, dotting I's. These 3 people didn't get it. These folks did. Imagine Grubhub serving now with your burger and come down with some cannabis. This is absolutely insane. And I don't understand DBR either, because They keep changing the rules in the past 3-4 years. I mean, every year, we get a new commissioner, we'd get some new rules. But this is really outrageous that it's even being considered. And let me just read you something else from DBR here. Cannabis offers regulators, DBR last month, revoked the conditional license of Green Wave Compassion of Foster after they failed to meet any of the prerequisites to licensure. These people didn't. These people passed nothing. They don't have a right to our zone. We have a right to have another barrel pick if those three folks wanted to come back with much safer commercial areas in the town of South Kingstown. Absolutely nuts. Then, of course, I made the mistake of reading today's newspaper. DBR to issue recreational marijuana guidelines, September 12. And I'll quote on here again. Early general guidance, I don't mean to yell here, early general guidance issued by DBR in July, when purging was, quote, still active, said only that the dispensaries must have a sufficient supply of safe, registered product available for both adult use and medical purchasers. Well, these folks now are going to have no supply. They're up in Warwick at their Grow Center. You need to get rid of them. You need to return this to at least another opportunity to have a bidding process for Zone 5, because these folks just don't have a right to it. They really don't. They would never, anywhere, have passed planning, advisory, or zoning anywhere in the state of Rhode Island. A couple other things, and I'll leave you alone here. It continues here after 6 months, so the licensee shall maintain quantity and a variety of marijuana products for patients, et cetera, on and on and on. So here we are, the fourth, if you will, surprise dispensary who was very fortunate with the lottery. You had your voters in this community all looking forward to November. Local newspapers have had polls out there. Everyone's kind of excited here. Hey, going to vote on this. And all of a sudden to find out at your last town council meeting, well, guess what? Somebody already will have the right. So what difference does our vote make? They've got a right for that site. The vote would obviously come into play with anything else happen in South Kingstown. But you need to turn this around, and turn this around fast, because this is the ugliest thing in 25 years I've been involved with in this town, to have this group get that capability to represent Zone 5 where we belong.
Thank you, Jim.
Hello, my name is Mariana Denis, and I wanted to add another perspective to the charter school that Valerie was talking about. So my husband, Greg Harvey, son of John Harvey, who worked in high school in South Kingston, he was born here and he was brought here, and eventually he moved to Argentina in Latin America. And he met me, we got married, and we got 2 kids. And last year, he told me that he wanted to move back here. And I was very scared, and my number one worry was my kids. And he told me, don't worry, because there are great public bilingual schools there. And we are friends with some teachers that used to work there. So we prepared a whole move, and we came here, and the program was canceled. And that was so sad. It was a bummer. And now they're going to Matunu School, which is a great school. I'm really happy about it. I mean, they just started last week, but I really like the teacher and the atmosphere. And I really wish there was a bilingual public school available. But since there's not, and everything points that there's not going to be soon, when I was told about this Para Todos charter school, I was very excited because I thought that It was not the ideal, but it was a solution. And I really think my kids and other kids who are bilingual will really benefit of it. And so, please, for my kids and other kids, it would be great if you could support this charter school. Thanks. That's what I want to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in the audience?
Hi, Karen Ramsey. I've been here before. A couple of things. I was just wanting to verify that town manager will be speaking, addressing the water issue. Is that what you said during your report?
Yes.
Okay.
Answer to the council, sorry.
Okay, because I wasn't at the last meeting, but listening to the audio, there were a couple of things that I was wondering if they had been followed up on, and that was Miss Tansey and her talking about money available, and if the drought continued by the end of August, that would put us in a better position to have more opportunities for funding. And I believe you were asked to follow up with Teresa, and I don't know who asked that, because as I said, it was just audio, so I couldn't see who it was. And the other thing was Mr. Chapman mentioned something about the Rhode Island Water Resource Board and potentially applying for grants, and how they had helped Bristol, and might we seek those as well. So those were two things I was wondering if they'd been followed up on. And just listening to the conversation this evening about the charter school, Councilwoman Kelso said that the money follows the child. And doesn't that mean, I don't know, that's why I'm asking, if a charter school were set up supposedly maybe in Narragansett or Newport, and 5 children left the classroom, the money still would go, right? So it doesn't matter where the charter school is, the money's going to go. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in the audience? Feel free, just come on up. All right, Doyle, come on up.
Sorry. Thanks, because the Old North Road thing wasn't really what I wanted to talk about tonight. Every June, the Department of Education puts out this sheet here, It's per pupil expenses. So the last one that they published this past June was for the fiscal year 2021. I wanted to talk about it tonight because, well, actually it dovetails into the DLI thing. South Kingstown in 2021 paid close to $4 million went out of district to other school districts, other public school districts. We're not talking now about special ed students that need to go to specific, programs for other kind of issues. This is just, going to charter schools, going to Narragansett, Cherahoe, and whatever, right? So, 3.8 million. This past year, the year just finished, it was over 4 million. In 2021, so in 2020, they added two columns to this sheet. The one column says tuition to other districts. That gives you the total amount that goes to other districts. And then they give a per pupil expense. So what you do is you take the average daily membership, the enrollment for that school year, you divide it into the amount of money, the total amount of money that you send out of district, and you come up with a dollar value. So you would take, if you multiply the number of students times this dollar value, you get the total, 3.8 million. Okay, but what it shows is this. In 2021, South Kingstown, for K-12 school districts, South Kingstown sent the second highest amount of money out of their district in the state of Rhode Island. The only district we were behind was Central Falls. Parents that live in this town, they're getting the message that our school system is not what it used to be. You even said it yourself, Mr. Collins, recently at one of these meetings. I have full faith in Mr. Prince and in Mr. Manny to help get this under control as we move forward. But here's the problem. Our town councils for the last more than a decade, you failed the taxpayers and you failed the students by letting our per pupil cost spiral out of control. In the 5 years prior to Mr. Collins, so these sheets started to be produced, I think, just around the time that they had a new funding formula. So they started around the year FY 2010-11. So for the first 5 years before Mr. Collins was elected to the town council, in those 5 years, our per pupil expense increased by 6% over 5 years. In the 8 years that you've been on this council, Mr. Collins, it's gone up 48%. 6% a year for 8 years. We're now at a $28,000 per year number. And it handcuffs what we can do, because now, if we try and reduce next year's property tax transfer to the schools, we have to use $28,000 as the baseline. If we had used the change in the state law that came in 1995, which Mr. Ursullo surely knows about, if we'd used that these last few years, so that as our enrollment dropped, it actually the problem started in, we were looking good just about the 2014 to 15. Things were going in the right direction. Our ratio of students per employee was increasing, so that our costs were dropping. But right after that, it started to go downhill. So we had a 6.7 students per.
You are past the 5.
I'll wrap it up. We had 6.7 students per employee in 2014-15, and today we have 5.6. If we want to fix our schools, our school buildings, we have to get this under control. And lastly, the roundabout in Narragansett is not a roundabout, it's a traffic circle, and the diameter of it is way too big for a roundabout. That's why the speeds around it are absurd. That's why you have problems, because the state lined it, put the lines in it as you're entering it, like it's a roundabout, but it's not. the speeds at which you can traverse the circle are way too fast for it to work properly. Okay.
Thank you, Doyle. All right. Anyone else in the audience? Anyone like to speak? Come on up. Seeing none, we'll continue on with the agenda.
Roy?
Oh, yeah, go ahead, Deb.
I just wanted to thank once again the police for bringing Leo. I think he's really going to be a great asset to the community, and I just wanted to remind everyone that tomorrow is the primary day, that we have 6 polling locations, all 10 districts, but they're at 6 different locations. And if you have any questions about where you're voting, you can go on the town website and check your polling place. The weather might not be so great, but please exercise your right to vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Deb. All good points. I'll sort of piggyback on that. We encourage all of you to get out there and get to the polls. Democracy in action is what we're about here, so we hope you do exercise your right to vote. It's one of the most important rights we have. So I hope you all make it to the polls.
Mr. President, I'd like to suggest that we move new business item 12A forward before the town manager's report and the rest of the agenda.
Yes, certainly. All right, so we're going to jump right to 12A. I know you guys have been waiting a while, so we'll get to that right now. So new business item 12A. Resolution adopting a proclamation recognizing September 2022 as Military Suicide Awareness Month in the town of South Kingstown as follows. Whereas family matters, support matters, and every military veteran matters. This September, Suicide Prevention Month encourages veterans and their loved ones to focus on the things that give life meaning, the things that matter. Anyone who knows a veteran can help. And whereas whether a veteran has just returned home or served years ago, their experiences remain with them. Their wounds might not be visible, but they need our attention. We can support our veterans who are dealing with challenges of all kinds. We're in this together. And whereas the U.S. Department of Veteran Affairs urges groups and individuals nationwide to stay alert for signs of suicide risk in the veterans they care about. If you're concerned about the veterans in your life, lending a hand doesn't have to be hard. Just talking about it opens the door to finding support, and the Veterans Crisis Line can help. And whereas the first step in preventing suicide is to understand the warning signs. People may show signs of risk before considering harming themselves. Warning signs include hopelessness, anxiety, agitation, sleeplessness or mood swings, rage or anger, engaging in risky activities, increasing alcohol or drug abuse, and withdrawing from family and friends. Whereas the Veterans Crisis Line is a free, confidential resource that veterans and their family and friends can access any day, any time. Trained professionals at the Veterans Crisis Line, many who are veterans themselves, are ready to listen, providing free, confidential support 24/7, 365 days a year. And whereas the VA counts on grassroots networks and community organizations to spread the word that support is just a call, click, or text away. It's up to all of us to get educated, get involved, and take action to help veterans access the support and care they deserve. And now, therefore, we, the Town Council of the Town of South Kingstown, proclaim September 2022 as Military Suicide Awareness Month in the Town of South Kingstown and request our residents to let a veteran know they are not alone and that they matter.
Motion to approve item 12. Oh.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Anyone opposed? All right, that passes. September 2022 is now recognized as Military Suicide Awareness Month in the Town of South Kingstown.
Hi, my name is Judy Munson. I very proudly serve with the William G. Fournier Jr. Veterans of Foreign War.
Judy, if you want to pull it up a little closer.
Pull it up?
It's closer to you so we can hear you better.
Okay. Never been accused of not being able to be heard. I'm with the local post, William G. Fournier, VFW, Veterans of Foreign War, 916 Auxiliary, Post and Auxiliary. I want to introduce our president, Erica Westbrook. She is the president not only of our local auxiliary, she is Department of Rhode Island president. She has a special project every year. Her special project is veteran suicide, so I'm going to let her speak.
I do have a couple of things that I'm going to read in a moment. As Judy said, I am an auxiliary president for Local 916, as well as the State of Rhode Island VFW Auxiliary Department president. And as much as I would love to say, and yes, it's an honor for me to serve there, and accept this, but I'm actually here as a United States Marine Corps veteran. There's a couple of things that I would like to read. Typically, yes, we would come up here and we would give you the numbers, we would give you the stats. Everybody's familiar with the 22 a day. The perspective that we don't get is the perspective of that veteran. So I was actually given 4 letters, 2 of which that I would like to read. So please be aware, for some of you, this may be a trigger warning. Trigger warning, the only one you're gonna get. To the loves of my life, I'm sorry. Daddy just can't be fixed. No matter how hard I try to be normal and loved, level-headed, it always comes back, and it always comes back even worse. I wasn't always this bad. Most times I wish I died in Afghanistan. I was never right again. What I did had to happen, and is nobody's fault but my own. I will always love you, Jasmine, Keola, and my rock, Misty. To Mom, Dad, and Ryan, I love you all very much. Could you please look after Missy and the kids while I'm gone? Yeah. This is when he wrote to his mother. Mom, I love you so much. I need to let you know that you can't blame Misty for any of this. This is all me. Misty was always my better half. She sacrificed so much for me and the kids. She gave me life and a purpose to try. Please love her for me while I'm gone. Please help with the kids. I love you more than words, Mom. Don't be sad. Smile for me. I love you. That is often a perspective that we don't get. Mr. Manning, and I'm sure Chief Moynihan, I'm sure you've seen those letters. But John Q. Public doesn't get those letters. We just don't. So the other thing that I want to read is a perspective from a mom who lost her son. And I'll basically just kind of paraphrase it because it's a pretty long article. So I'll just kind of paraphrase it. Her name is Virginia Cooper. And she is actually a family readiness manager, so to speak. Any National Guard members knows what a family readiness group is. It's the group that supports the family while the active duty soldier, Marine, is gone. Her son, Joshua James Wood, was a veteran of the U.S. Marine Corps. He was 30 years old when he took his life on November 7th, 2021. She had no idea. And she's been through. She supported, she ran, she prepared, she put everybody through the mental health trainings. You have to take the mental health trainings, you have to take the suicide awareness trainings as part of the family readiness group for deployment. Prior to deployment, both the active duty military personnel and their families take these trainings. She had no clue. She had no idea that her son was suffering from PTSD from his deployments in Afghanistan and Iraq. No clue. So, forgive me, Council President, you were reading the symptoms for mental health awareness and for suicide awareness. I sat here giggling and smiling. That's a symptom as well. I sat here organizing my thoughts and trying to be prepared to be able to speak up here. That's a symptom. I get up every day. I make my coffee, I go to work, which, by the way, I'm going to get to that too because I work at a mental health agency. So that's a symptom. Anything can be a symptom or a sign. If you see something, like anything else, if you see something, say something. If you don't know, if you're not aware, question it. If you see something where they're a little too giggly, question it. Because you never know. You never know. Her son would smile, he would joke, he would laugh all the time. But in private, he was cutting himself to alleviate the pain and the agony of the nightmares that he had to live with. And it sucks. So, sorry, plain speaking. But anyway, I wanted to say thank you for the proclamation, for declaring this town a mental health awareness and suicide awareness for September. What I would like to do is try to eventually get it indefinitely and make it a ongoing thing so that we don't have to come back here every September. So that it would just, going forward, you know, Wakefield, Eastdale, South Kingston, we're all just a big part of the solution. So I do, as I said, I do work in a community mental health agency. If you know somebody, if somebody you know knows somebody, I do have my information. I will be happy to make sure that you have it. If you work with a population, and Chief Moynihan, you tend to, the local police departments, the fire departments, the EMS departments, tend to have more contact with like the homeless population. You know, I'm going to leave you with my information. As long as they're nonviolent, they're welcome at my house. I will get them the help they need. You know, every time I lose another veteran, another active duty military personnel, it's like I lose a brother or a sister. You know, we are all one big family. So that's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you for coming here and shedding light on this. We appreciate it, we do. All right, that's going to move us back to Town Manager's Report.
Thank you, Council President. I'll move as quickly as I can on this. First item I'd bring up is our early voting capabilities. We've had approximately 950 people vote so far, residents of this town. I will tell you, the clerks, I came in early one morning, I was here about 7. The clerks were already here setting up. They get here early, they leave late. And my office overlooks the clerks and the volunteers, and I hear them laughing, talking, engaging to all the residents. It makes it pretty enjoyable. Hearing that conversation is kind of rare to hear that. So, but they have a lot of work ahead of them as well, as we have a general election coming. But so 950 so far have showed up as early voting. That's one. Two, the bike path safety project we are working on. This comes up in conversation a lot in town, so I'll just address it real quick. So we, our bike path is one of the jewels in the town. A lot of people use it. They come from all over. It's an economic driver. They go for breakfast after when they dump out into Main Street. But it's tired. It needs an overhaul, a safety overhaul. If you drive through, you can see that the signage, the signs, everything looks old. It hasn't been upgraded in years. So the people that are working on it are our planner, Jamie Rowett, our building inspector, Jamie Gorman, Director of Administrative Services, Luke Murray, our police chief's working on it. And there's one person we just looped in, Rex Eberly, who's the Parks and Rec superintendent. He rides that bike path every day. He takes it to work. So his input is very valuable to us. So what are we doing? DOT has designated this as a bike path that they will put in the necessary resources to upgrade its safety plan. So there's 16 intersections with towns. It's one of the largest in the state that crosses. We have about 8 or 9 miles, nearly 10 miles of bike path. So what we're looking at, and all these staff have spent a lot of time. They sat in their cars and watched what goes on at just about every intersection. Number one, Parks and Rec went out on their own, even though it was a state responsibility, they did it. They cleared the brush at all 16 intersections. And people in town noticed it because they're always approaching us of how much they can see now. That's one good thing. So what are the areas we're going to be working on and making our recommendations to the DOT, and hopefully in short order we start getting this done? Number one is striping. There's a new pattern that we're going to use that'll be universal throughout all 16 intersections. Instead of one looks like a crosswalk, one looks like whatever. So it'll be designated by color. We still have to pick the safest color that we want. We're looking at other cities and towns like Boston, places in Pennsylvania and New York, to see what colors work best. So striping is one of the big improvements we plan on making. Signage. The new signs have that universal NHTSA, National Highway Traffic Safety color, that brighter lime green almost, instead of a dull yellow. So we're going to recommend new signage at every one of these intersections. Flashing lights. We're researching the most modern flashing lights that we can find. The ones where they're motion activated by bikers on the path, and they'll have yellow strobes that turn on the roadway just to alert motorists that there's a bike path there and there will be people crossing. Stop signs. That's one of the most widely abused traffic signals on the bike path. You go to any bike path, you sit there for 2 minutes, and you're going to see a bicyclist flying across. I don't care if it's Curtis Corner Road, Ministerial Road, some of the most South Road, the fastest roads we have. They're still doing it. So what does that mean? We need education. We need to educate the bicyclists that the vehicles have the right of way. They need to stop as well. Talking with Chief Moynihan, we're going to start a program, hopefully soon, of increased patrol by officers on bicycles on the bike path, including a program with community service officers on bicycles patrolling, and outreach on what the laws are, what the stop signs, and then enforcement, so that they know they have to stop for the safety of everyone involved. So that's moving along, and we'll give you updates as it goes forward. The third thing is is Old Tower Hill Road. That comes up a lot in conversation. There's 5 phases to cleaning up Old Tower Hill Road. We're in phase 3 right now. The first phase was cleaning the 3 to 4 foot weeds out of the bioretention basins. The second phase was cleaning the drains which were overflowing with trash and silt onto Old Tower Hill Road. The third phase, which we are in now, is DOT hired a private contractor on a yearly basis to clean and maintain and plant whatever is needed in those bioretention basins. Already they started. They worked 4 days last week. They worked over the weekend. It's a big company, and they're there working very hard. They cleaned them again, and they're putting mulch in there. The 4th phase will be replanting. We'll be meeting with DOT to pick the right plants that will survive there. Then the 5th phase is maintenance, probably the most important one. So we have assurances in perpetuity. They will maintain these basins. They'll maintain the entire stretch of road, which is a state road of weeds and litter as well. The final thing I'll talk about tonight is the one that generates the most topic in town right now is the water ban. And I was at a cookout at Snug Harbor last week, and that's all they talked about. And you know, I got blamed for all of it, which is fine. But it is a topic of conversation, much more than I even thought was in town. The bottom line is this: we don't have a short-term answer to a long-term problem. There's no short-term solution. I can't promise you anything that's going to change things this year or maybe even next year. We have to look at this as a very long-term problem that needs to be addressed. Tomorrow, September 13th, the Drought Steering Committee is meeting in Providence to address the drought in the state of Rhode Island, not just in South Kingstown. Our Director of Public Services, Rich Bourbonnais, is on it. He's going to this and listen to the new data that's come out. Has this rain helped us? How long will this drought last? What can we anticipate for the next couple of months, the winter, or the next year or two? Veolia owns most of our water. But speaking to the director, Bourbonnais, even if there were our wells, we'd be in the same boat we're in now. The supply of water going into our system was not sufficient every night to meet the demands of the people using it during the day. Most of the issue was outside watering. Grass, that was the big issue. But listen, we feel, we've heard it loud and clear. People haven't been watering their gardens, their tomato plants, nothing. That's created a hardship for everyone. It didn't go unnoticed. We recognize that. So what is the answer? Well, one of the answers is we have to find new water sources to supplement what we already have. But even if those 3 wells in Green Hill were open tomorrow, that only brings about 1.2 more million gallons of water on top of the 8 or 9 million gallons a day that we use. That would help, but it won't solve the problem. That fix right there is $12 to $16 million for a filtration plant. Those wells have been closed for over 20 years. We are looking to the congressional delegation for help. And once again, it's not something you click your fingers and it's solved. It's not. Next year, we are hoping to apply for an earmark to help us pay for this filtration system or get it in the works anyway to start the planning, which could be years in the making to get it done. Right now, the only option we have is the infrastructure bank, which is really like borrowing money against that, which I'd much rather try and get some federal assistance and borrow whatever the remaining amount is. So that's what we're working on. We know this issue's here, and we're not taking it lightly. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Appreciate it. Yep. Jesse, you want?
Would you mind giving us an update on East Mattoonic? The East Mattoonic.
Yes, I'm
parking lot?
sorry. You told me, you reminded me of that, and I forgot it. Sorry about that. So about 2 weeks ago, I was contacted by Rhode Island DEM and Rhode Island DOT about the East Mattoonic parking situation. Anyone that lives down this way knows what that's like. Succotash Road on a hot day. The traffic backs up almost all the way to Route 1, at least halfway there. And it creates a traffic issue and a safety issue because you have a lot of people on bicycles, walking. One of the busiest restaurants in our town is there. So DEM and DOT, and that is a state road, are working on a way to correct that. Currently at East Mattoonic State Beach, there's an entrance with 2 lanes. It's very slow, especially the beginning part of the year, because each vehicle is stopping to either buy a pass or pay cash to get in to the lot. What DEM is recommending is 3 lanes to get into the state beach and moving the lanes in where you pay closer to the parking lot, inside the parking lot. But once again, nothing's easy. They're going to have to close that entire parking area, the entrance, to facilitate Jersey barriers and some very heavy construction to go in and fix this problem. I've heard it loud and clear that, especially in weather like this, people still want to go to the beach and they want to go walk there and park. They need to park somewhere. So I will call DEM this week and try and see if we have while they're working there, to have an alternate plan. And I'll be working with the police chief to see if it's safe. One of the things we'll look at is maybe having, when you're going around the corner towards Jim's Dock, maybe having that right lane, maybe some parking there where people can walk onto the beach. The plan that DEM gave us, where you would park a deep hole and walk in from that way, I don't know if that works. It might sound good, but I don't think it's going to work. So, but I'll address it and hopefully have an update for the next meeting on what we're doing there.
So just some feedback that I heard from residents was when they had contacted DEM said that this was a town issue, not a state issue, and that there are actually 2 ordinances on the books that put this on the town. So I just wanted to get clarification on that. One of them said that there is seasonal parking for like 20 spots. I don't know the specifics.
I'm not aware of that.
The Access Group did look into it. They've been working really hard over the past couple of weeks, and DEM is just kind of saying, no, it's not a state thing, it's a town thing. So
I'm sorry, I haven't heard that, but I will tell you it is a town thing. It's affecting our residents.
Right, yeah.
Whether it's a state thing or a town thing, it's a town thing. It's on my shoulders. We'll try and do the best we can to fix it.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Any other questions from members for the manager? All right, we'll keep moving forward. It's going to bring us. Sorry, Deb, go ahead.
Sorry. We have this opportunity to tell the community that there will be a school building committee meeting on Wednesday at 6 o'clock, and it should be in the town council chambers. I know Luke had sent an email for us to promote it, so I just want to make sure that the community, if they're still paying attention right now, because it's getting late, that there will be a meeting on Wednesday, September 14th, and they're moving from stage 1 to stage 2, so it's always a time to be involved in what the plans of the school facilities will be.
The stage 1 deadline is September 15th, which we're close to that. That is the needs assessment to determine if the town does in fact need some facilities improvement, which we think clearly it does. So the stage 1 will be going on September 15th. We will be transitioning very quickly to the stage 2 development, which is to address the specific problem the town has and the amount of money and then we'll present it to the council. The deadline for the Stage 2 submission is February 15th. And Director Luke Murray is the chair of that committee as well.
Thank you, Deb. Thank you, Jim. All right, that's going to bring us to item 12B, a resolution authorizing the town clerk to advertise for order of notice a public hearing to consider proposed amendments to the town code, chapter 12, offenses and miscellaneous provisions that would add Article 4, municipal court and housing court, as shown on Exhibit 1.
Motion to approve item 12B.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Anyone opposed? All right, that motion passes. It's going to bring us to item D, which is a resolution authorizing an award of bid to Turf Robotics LLC of West Hartford, Connecticut, for the purchase of a new GPS robotic line painting machine in accordance with all bid specifications at an amount not to exceed $41,950, and is further described in a memorandum from the Director of Leisure Services to the Town Manager dated September 6, 2022.
Motion to approve item 12D. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Anyone opposed? All right, that motion passes. That'll bring us to item E, which is a resolution authorizing an amendment to an award of contract originally granted on April 11, 2022 to Clifton Larson Allen, LLP of Cranston, Rhode Island, and West Hartford, Connecticut for professional audit services to comply with new GASB 87 reporting requirements with respect to leases and an additional amount not to exceed $20,305 for the fiscal year 2022 audit, and an additional annual cost thereafter of $5,425, and as further described in a memorandum from the Finance Director to the Town Manager dated September 6, 2022.
Motion to approve 12E. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Anyone opposed? All right, that motion passes. That'll bring us to item F, a resolution authorizing the tax assessor to abate taxes in a total amount of $10,454.37, as shown on tax abatement request number 605.
Motion to approve item 12F. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Anyone opposed? All right, that motion passes. That'll bring us to item G, a resolution authorizing the tax assessor to abate taxes in the total amount of $26,209.48, as shown on tax abatement request number 606.
Motion to approve item 12G. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Anyone opposed? All right, that motion passes. That'll bring us to item H, a resolution authorizing a mutual aid agreement with the town of Narragansett for South Kingstown Police Services in Jerusalem, as shown on Exhibit 2 attached here too.
Motion to approve 12H.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Anyone opposed? All right, that motion passes. That's going to bring us to the end. Do I hear a motion?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion. Up, Susan?
Did you want to consider the request for moving alternate number 1 of the zoning board up to full member to fill in the place left vacant now by Mr. Brown's resignation that you accepted this evening? I know the building official had written a memo, and I believe the manager put it in his weekly notes to you.
Yep, who's?
Know the name. I don't know.
Who's the name, Susan?
Kevin Diamond, he's alternate number 1
He's the only alternate?
currently.
Oh, he's alternate number 1.
Yes.
All right. Do we want to consider making that appointment right now? So that would be to move the alternate number 1 into a full zoning board of review member.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Anyone opposed? All right, that motion passes.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion to adjourn, second. Any discussion? Anyone opposed? All right, the motion passes. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone, for coming. Have a good night. Have a good week.